The morning sun spilled through the glass walls, painting lines of light across the office floor, and she walked in quietly, her heels touching the ground like raindrops in a forgotten song. She had started only a week ago, yet something about her presence already changed the rhythm of his days. She was there to assist, to organize, to make sure every detail of his work flowed smoothly. But it was her calm voice that unsettled him most. The way she spoke his name held something warm, something real. He was her boss, the man everyone admired for his precision and composure. But when her eyes met his, all that composure felt like paper in the rain. He would ask her to stay after meetings, to take notes, to prepare reports. Yet every word she wrote seemed to trace itself straight into his thoughts. He noticed the small things, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way she smiled at the end of a task, as if she had completed a secret promise. He told himself it was nothing. It was professionalism. But every passing hour told another truth, and that truth was quietly taking over the space between them. The city lights shimmered outside like stars fallen to the streets below, and the office was nearly empty, save for two hearts that refused to rest. She stood by his desk, her shadow blending with his, and in that stillness words became unnecessary. She handed him a file, but their fingers brushed, and it felt like time forgot its duty to move. He thanked her, but his voice trembled, betraying the calm image he wore all day. She looked up, and in her eyes he saw both question and answer, both danger and comfort. He wanted to turn away, to remember his title, his rules, his responsibilities, yet something in her gaze asked him to stay a little longer, to listen to what silence had been trying to say for weeks. She adjusted the papers on his desk and whispered softly, "If you need anything else, I am here." And those simple words echoed deeper than she knew. He nodded, unable to trust himself with more. He left the office lights on that night, and she stood there for a while, feeling the warmth of something new, something forbidden, yet strangely pure. Days passed like quiet waves, each one carrying a little more of what neither could admit. They began avoiding each other in small ways, their meetings shorter, their exchanges colder. But behind that distance was fire. It was in every glance they didn't share, in every pause that lingered too long. The world saw only a boss and his secretary, but inside the quiet corners of their hearts lived a story they could not tell. She would bring him coffee, and their hands would almost touch. He would call her name, and it would sound softer each time. One afternoon she found him, standing by the window, lost in thought, and without thinking, she asked if he was all right. He turned, and the weight in his eyes told her everything he could not say. He whispered that it was getting harder, harder to keep pretending, and she said she knew. Their words hung between them like unspoken vows, yet both stepped back, knowing how fragile everything was. Love in the wrong place, at the wrong time, yet still, love in its truest form. The day came when the truth could no longer stay hidden. He was offered a transfer, a chance to leave, to start anew. She congratulated him, her voice steady, but her heart breaking in quiet pieces. He thanked her for everything she had done for him, not just the work, but the calm, the light, the understanding she gave without asking. She smiled and said, Maybe that is what I was meant to do. Assist you until you found your way. He looked at her one last time, the world outside waiting, but the world inside him collapsing slowly. He wanted to tell her that she had become more than anyone ever had, but words failed him. Again, they parted that evening without promises, without tears, only the silent knowledge that something real had happened between them, something that would live in both, long after the office lights went dark. She watched him walk away and felt both pain and peace, knowing love does not always need to be claimed. Sometimes it only needs to be remembered. Years passed like soft whispers of seasons that no one noticed changing. He had moved to another city, another company, another life. Yet some evenings, when work was done and the office quieted, he would find himself remembering her. The sound of her voice, the calm of her presence, the feeling that something important had been left unfinished. One winter morning, during a business conference, he stepped into a hotel lobby, and the world seemed to pause, for standing near the glass doors, arranging files in her hands, was the same woman who had once filled his days with unspoken warmth. She looked up. Their eyes met, and time folded back upon itself. She smiled, polite at first, as if unsure he would remember. But he did. He always had. They spoke of work, of years gone by, of all the things that had changed. But beneath every word was the same current, pulling them close again. She told him she had built her own career, strong, independent, yet, when she looked at him, her voice softened, and for a moment, both of them forgot who they had become. They walked through the cold city that night, their conversation flowing easily, like it always used to. And in that gentle quiet, he realized that though years had gone, the connection never had. The following days felt like the rebirth of a dream long buried. They met again, under the soft light of early mornings. She brought him coffee, as she once did. Only now, there was no office, no rules, no one to remind them of what was forbidden. They talked about choices, the ones that had kept them apart, and the ones they still had. The future stretched before them, uncertain, yet full of promise. She confessed that she had never stopped wondering what could have been. And he told her that every success, every city, every face he met had led him back to this moment, to her. They stood together in the quiet park near the conference hall, watching the sun rise over the frozen trees, the same way it had once poured through the office glass. And she said, maybe it was never about resisting. Maybe it was about timing. Maybe now we are ready. He took her hand, not with urgency, but with peace, and in that touch was the story they had both been waiting to finish, a story without signatures or endings, only the simple truth that love, once paused, could still begin again.